Day 717 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzy here, and today is another update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So, starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on more than 395,000 military personnel losses, which represents an additional 930 losses in the past day. Then as for hardware losses, 12 tanks, 14 APVs, and 16 artillery. Then we'll head back across to the map today and we'll start out in Ukraine as a fairly large Russian Shahed drone attack occurred overnight throughout multiple regions of Ukraine. Looks like someone didn't like how their interview went recently, and in the end 40 out of 45 drones were shot down. Then we'll move directly into the Donbass, into Avdiivka today, as Ukrainian defense forces within the town face uncertainty due to challenges in fortifying positions against Russian attacks, with Russian forces making a break in the north, just beyond the railway line, which is just southeast of the AFU dug-in positions at the coke plant. Now, the larger town is actually perhaps the most Ukrainian defended and fortified position on the map. And conversely, this location single-handedly contains the most Russian personnel and hardware losses more than anywhere else on the map. And this is not a coincidence, as Ukraine has had some long-standing and fortified positions here since 2014. So that's why when you take a look at this zoomed out map just a little bit more, you'll see the different red/purple coloring of the Russian controlled positions in the east, which is where the battle lines were drawn since 2000 and just upon the commencement of Russia's 2022 full-blown invasion into Ukraine. And now, since the Russian MOD has decided to effectively throw military resources the size of a small European nation into Avdiivka, or possibly a medium to large European nation's army size, given that, say, Spain, Germany or France have similar hardware and active personnel numbers to the Russian losses we've seen so far in this one single region. And as a result of all of that, then we start to see the grotesque outcome of what happens when, as they say, an immovable object meets an unstoppable force. But of course, it cannot yet be considered a victory by any means, such as that of a Pyrrhic victory by the Russian forces, even as they see fit to throw your average EU nation-sized land army resources into a single town. But obviously not a sustainable approach. And so more specifically for this region, as you can see from the map itself, Russian ground troops are really looking to bridge this divide. So I'll use the ruler here approximately, including that southern quite salient point, which equates to about 5 or 6 kilometers, depending on how you count it, as they attempt to make some sort of encirclement, or at least an eastern Avdiivka encirclement. But time will only tell what happens here. Of course, you may remember the Battle of Bakhmut, as it was a slow attritional grind against the Russian forces, and for what turned out to be a very slow withdrawal of the Ukrainian forces, with most analysts at the time suggesting quite constantly, in fact, that Ukraine would fold within a matter of days at different points throughout those military engagements, given the precarious-looking map situations of the time that look somewhat similar to here. Although it was a period over 8 months, as we came to evidently find out. Then we'll move across to Novomykhailivka, as there is quite the back and forth between the armies happening here right now, with Ukrainian forces repelling 12 assault attempts near the town in the past day alone, and in the process destroying significant amounts of Russian equipment and manpower. And remember this location for the video, as it relates to a Russian blunder shortly. Then, somewhere in the east, we saw footage of the TEL launcher component of a Russian S-350 SAM system, which accidentally drove into a Russian minefield, hitting a mine in the Luhansk Oblast. The vehicle was reportedly severely damaged, with Russian recovery crews unable to retrieve it due to the minefield. And the Russian army never really documented where their autonomous units decided to place their mines on minefields. It's quite the wasteful and self-defeating exercise for Russia sometimes. Then moving across to the Zaporizhia region, as Ukrainian forces are said to have advanced in the direction of Lhova, with this one being towards the left bank of the Dnipro River. Then we'll head across to the far edges of the Odessa Oblast, following Russian drone attacks targeting port facilities along the river bordering Romania. It caused Romanian authorities to deploy F-16 fighter jets in response. Then Romania's defense ministry confirmed these actions, highlighting the absence of unauthorized airspace breaches and/or debris on Romanian soil. As such, the response underscores Romania's condemnation of the assaults on Ukrainian infrastructure and its preparedness to take measures against potential threats. Then moving across to some news for today. So Ukrainian pilots have expressed high satisfaction with the performance of the American-made F-16 fighter jets, stating that the jets surpassed their initial expectations. This feedback comes as several Western countries, including the Netherlands, Denmark, and Norway, have committed to supplying Ukraine with these aircraft to bolster its air force capabilities. And so the F-16s, described as multi-role fighters, are praised for their potential to significantly enhance Ukraine's combat aviation capabilities, despite the challenges faced in retraining pilots accustomed to older Soviet-era aircraft. Then, in some more hardware news, in Ukraine, everyday citizens are making significant contributions to offset a shortage of ammunition by 3D printing parts and assembling FPV drones in their basements. This remarkable effort showcases the spirit and resilience of the Ukrainian people. Now, currently, about 1,000 Ukrainian civilians are already assisting with these 3D printing efforts for the AFU. Then moving across to some Russian hardware news updates of a sort, if you will. So in a recent discussion on Telegram, a Russian drone expert highlighted a growing drone shortage within their military, raising suspicions of internal sabotage. He revealed that the two main drone repair centers close to the Donbass front lines have ceased servicing to all units, opting to instead prioritize their own, which is affecting both FPV and reconnaissance drones. Interestingly, the situation is compounded by legal restrictions on fundraising for drone procurement, requiring lengthy approval processes through the Ministry of Defense of Russia. And this issue is further exacerbated by a recent attack on a training facility, resulting in the elimination of nearly 20 Russian drone operators. Then moving across to some economy-related news. So a major Chinese bank critical for Russian imports ceased all transactions with Russia recently. This follows US warnings to foreign banks aiding Russia's defense sector. As such, the move may lead to a logistical breakdown impacting Russian imports from China. And despite China not joining Western sanctions, it has complied, thus affecting financial dealings with Russia, which may set a precedent for further trade interruptions between the two countries. Then moving across to another Russian military mobilization blunder segment. So while the top dog at the Kremlin has been spinning a yarn of tales, his soldiers have been revealing the ongoing shortfalls of the Russian military's failings, detailing the veritable meat assaults that they've been thrown into. Not good stuff at all. So they state that they're wounded and not being withdrawn. They've been blocked in against their own snipers, forced to fight in one-way ticket assaults. Very few make it back on each occasion as well, they mentioned. They also said that those that do return are sent back into the meat grinder without arms and just knives. Honestly, I think I'd prefer the shovel, which we've heard them being equipped only with before in this war. Even the commander, in this instance, labeled these guys, as just simply meat. Something to be expended. And so, did all of this happen sometime long ago? Oh no, it only just happened on the 8th of February 2024 in Novomikhailivka. So it really is almost surprising to see just how little has changed with the Russian military and its reprehensible actions like these, and a true dereliction of duty to their own. Then moving across to a couple of really quick funnies to round it all off for today, guys. So, ski competitors in Moscow show their neutrality one more time, proving that sports is above politics. Hopefully that was an accidental Z formation, but I highly doubt it. Then across to the final funny, as some footage surfaced of the Russian captain of the frigate Admiral Gorskov, where he was speaking of the superior precision capabilities of the hypersonic Zircon cruise missiles, which have been performing poorly in Ukraine already, with him initially stating that the missiles contained an accuracy down to mere centimeters. But when pressed ever so gently by the interviewer to confirm it was centimeters, he broke all composure almost instantaneously, stating that if it doesn't hit the entrance of a 5-story house, then it should at least hit the one next door. Meanwhile, this video has left me scratching my head asking why on earth was he using a 5-story residential building as his prime example for a military target to hit. That's just a facepalm moment. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. Please continue to like and comment. I haven't said it in a while now since I've hit the 100k subs, but feel free to subscribe if you do watch the channel and not yet subscribed. And I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers.